This is what we're making? These look awesome.
That is what we're making.
Today we're making Keto Cheesecake Minis, or just mini cheesecakes. Now, cheesecake is one of my favorite desserts, but I've never actually made a proper keto cheesecake. The first step in this recipe is making a blueberry sauce, or kind of a blueberry jam. And it's really easy. It's just blueberries and Swerve.
We're going to add in our blueberries,
Okay.
1 cup, and then we're gonna add in a 1/2 cup of Swerve confectioners. So that's erythritol.
People look at sugar as a natural ingredient, and they look at something like erythritol or even stevia as artificial, but the thing is, those are natural as well. They're not like aspartame, that's more of like a chemical. Erythritol and stevia are both natural products, so using them in place of sugar isn't a bad or worse thing. It's just a different thing that cuts out the calories and cuts out the carbs.
Blueberries are okay?
Blueberries are pretty low carb, so for the whole cup of blueberries is about 21 grams of carbs, but for the serving size that it's gonna go into, it drops quite dramatically.
Berries tend to be more keto friendly than some other fruits, so if you wanted to go with strawberries or raspberries or even blackberries, those would all be totally fine.
And what heat are you using here?
So this is medium heat, and we just let it come to a boil, make sure all that confectioner is mixed in there until it dissolves, and then we can actually let that simmer for a few minutes, and we can make our crust.
Once it got hot and bubbly, we let it sit and simmer for about 10 minutes to burn off any excess moisture and really condense it into a jam.
First thing for our crust, we have our fine ground almond flour.
The great thing about almond flour is that it's a 1-to-1 for regular flour, so any recipe that calls for regular white flour, you can substitute almond flour instead.
And then we have brown Swerve.
Brown Swerve.
Yes.
So we use Swerve confectioner over there, and this is a different Swerve product.
Right, so this would be like your replacement for brown sugar.
You can find Swerve online as well as retail centers like Walmart, but the brown Swerve specifically, Kay said, was a little bit harder to come by, so you may have to pick that one up online.
And then we're gonna use a 1/4 cup of full fat butter.
We put the softened butter, almond flour, and brown Swerve in a stand mixer and just spun it up on a low speed until it was all combined. This made for like a wet sand consistency, and I think looking at it, it's gonna make for a really good crust.
What we're gonna do is go back to,
Ooh, check on the
Our
blueberry
berries.
sauce.
yeah, so our blueberries are cooked way down, and now we can take it off the heat on the stove, add it into the blender.
Okay, so like this is just to kind of get all the clumpy blueberries out.
Right, you want it pretty smooth.
After cooking, there's still gonna be some larger chunks of blueberry, so we put that in a blender to really spin it down and smooth it all out.
All right, so we're just pouring it into a cup, letting it cool.
Okay, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna prep our pan to go into the oven. So what I have is a 1/2 baking sheet, and then this is a mini cheesecake pan. See the bottoms come out,
That's so cool.
so it's pretty easy. If you don't have a mini cheesecake pan, you can also use a cupcake or muffin tin and use liners.
These discs are great, but it's not quite a perfect seal, so you do wanna line the bottom with tin foil just in case there are any leaks. The tin foil will also protect the mini cheesecakes from the water bath that's added later.
And we're gonna use avocado oil spray.
To make the cheesecakes easy to remove, you wanna use a non-stick spray. We're using an avocado oil spray that is actually just avocado oil. There's no chemicals or additives, pure avocado oil.
How much are we putting in of the crust?
So what we're gonna use is, this is a 1 tablespoon scoop,
Okay.
and we're just gonna fill it and then flatten it out.
Do we want it kind of tightly packed or?
Yes, let's tightly pack it. And then while you're doing that, I'm gonna go behind you, and I'm using a wooden pestle. You could even just use a spoon or a scoop that will fit in the pan just to get them flattened.
I used about half of the mixture for these 12 mini cheesecakes because this recipe will actually make 24 mini cheesecakes or 1 9-inch cheesecake.
So we're gonna wipe the top off before we add in the actual cheesecake filling.
Yeah, I see all the oil on top. We want to get all that off
Yeah.
so it doesn't burn, right?
And then here you can actually have the option, if you want to pre-cook your crust, you can put in the oven at 350 for about 10 minutes if you want a more golden crust. Or we can just set this aside for now and start making our cream cheese filling.
Let's do the filling.
And now for the best part, the filling. This is the cheesecake.
2 8-ounce blocks of cream cheese that are room temperature, 2 eggs room temperature,
Room temperature.
about 3/4 cup
This is Swerve as well.
Swerve confectioner.
Swerve on everything. Vanilla, and then what's this?
This is lemon juice.
Lemon juice.
Yes.
Of course, there was the cream cheese and vanilla extract, but I didn't realize lemon juice was a part of most cheesecake recipes.
And then for the sour cream, we are going to do 3/4 cup.
I think all those flavors help kind of balance each other out, so it's not really cream cheesy. It kind of has that fun tanginess that you get with a cheesecake.
Locking it in place.
Okay.
Slow?
Slow. We're gonna add in 2 teaspoons of each, the lemon and vanilla. You wanna use pure vanilla. Imitation, you're gonna need to use more, and then it's just gonna water down your recipe. And we're gonna add in the confectioner. Then we're gonna add in 1 egg at a time.
One thing Kay told me to make sure to never do is never overmix your egg. If you overmix them, it can cause the cheesecake to crack in the oven.
Slow and steady, that's what they always tell you in grade school. Slow and steady wins the race.
Yeah.
To make this easy, we put our cheesecake filling in a squirt bottle. Kay had actually cut the tip off so a little bit more comes out, but this made pouring it into each little cup really, really easy.
So wait, now can I eat this? Are you like it's got raw egg in it. How do you feel about that?
As long as you're not scared, we're good.
I'm not scared. That's gonna be so good.
Some sugar substitutes tend to have a weird aftertaste, but I didn't notice anything with the Swerve. It tasted just as sweet and good as regular sugar. You wanna fill each cup almost to the top. These do expand a little bit in the oven, but after they cool, they settle back down. So really where you fill it is how big they're going to be.
It's like a really runny mayonnaise.
That's kind of what it looks like. Yeah.
So if you really like mayonnaise, you can put your mayonnaise in a squeeze bottle like this and cut the tip off too.
Just make sure you label it.
To top these off, we're gonna add that blueberry sauce. Just a little bit goes a long way, and this adds that nice pop of color and a little bit of blueberry flavor to the cheesecake. Kay taught me this really cool marbling technique that really makes the cheesecake stand out. Just add a couple dots of the blueberry sauce to the top of each cup and then swirl it with a toothpick in sort of like a figure 8 pattern. However you wanna do it, get creative, but this adds that marble texture and look to the top of each cheesecake that really sets it apart. The last step before putting these in the oven is to boil some water and add it to the tray around the cheesecakes. This hot water is gonna create a water bath, and all that water is gonna steam in the oven, keeping the cheesecake nice and moist.
So you probably want a nice baking sheet for this, not one of like the lopsided bent ones, right?
Yeah, so you definitely want to keep it flat. So we can open up our oven. We have it preheated at 350. You can use the bottom rack or you can center it. All depends on your oven. And then it will be perfectly done in 20 minutes.
20 minutes, that's it?
Exactly.
Easy.
Now that the mini cheesecakes are done baking, we have to let them sit out on the counter for about 30 minutes to an hour to let them kind of cool down and set. After that, pop them in the fridge for another 3 to 4 hours. Overnight is even better to really let them set and firm up and cool off.
Oh, these look so good.
Yeah, so you see how they flatten out once you let them set for a while?
Yeah, all that they rose in the oven, now it's all like back down after they cooled for what, like 4 hours?
Yeah.
They look so good. Can we try them?
Of course. That's what we've made them for.
I'm debating, do I want the whole thing or just a little bit?
These things are delicious. They taste just like the real thing. And they're about only 4 net carbs per mini cheesecake. So it makes a great snack or even dessert.
Oh, those are like the perfect keto dessert. I love the graham cracker kind of crust that you would have normally on like a cheesecake, but like the almond flour, that's so good. I know like the keto fat bombs are really popular, right? But this is like sort of the same thing, just in a more traditional kind of recipe. This is fun, doing it kind of outside the box, doing something fun, something special that tastes just like the real thing, but is keto friendly.
And you only really had to swap out 2 ingredients.
Couldn't be easier. Now I'm going to take this.
It's nice to know that when it comes to keto, and specifically keto desserts, you can have your cake and eat it too. That's cheesy. That's how you want it?
Yes.
David wants to make sure his cheesy joke makes it into the edit.
Cheesy joke makes it to the edit.